Hey everyone, I just want to make a quick video on how to extend your rod rocker on your older Ranger. So as you can see, I own a Ranger 363V. It's from 1989. From the factory, it came out with a 6.5 foot rod locker. Like many of the other 300 series and 400 series, it suffers from a short rod locker. So most of your modern rods can't fit inside the locker, and the guys are left with sticking their rods on their deck and stepping on them and all that stuff. So this is just a solution on how to extend it so you can store your rods so they're not getting damaged and all that stuff. So there's really two different ways of doing this. Some guys will install a foot pedal tray and they'll dig a essentially tunnel to the top of their, or sorry, the tip of their rod locker, and they'll take a hole saw or a Dremel and cut the end of the rod locker and remove it. I didn't want to do that. I still have the old trolling motor, and I'd like to keep the exterior as original as I can. So the route I took was I took a hole saw with a drill bit extension, and I drilled a hole through the cap from inside the rod locker. So I'm just going to go through the tools, the process, summarize the whole thing. I'm not going to actually film me doing it because it's already done, but I just want to be able to provide some information out there to people who want to do this, because there's really not much out there. There's some things on the forums, but there's only a few different things I found. So here's I guess the pile of tools I used. There's not many. It's just kind of more of a labor-intensive task rather than the cost of tools. It's not that expensive, but let's start it off with the hole saw size. Depending on what 300 series or 400 series you have, you'll have probably a different hole saw size than what I used. So I used a 2.5 inch diameter hole saw. Really, it's best if you just buy a kit like this one from Bahco. That way you can see what hole size best fits your rod rocker cap. So that way you can kind of experiment with it, find out what fits it better. You don't want to obviously have one that's too large to where you're cutting into the side of your boat, and you don't want one that's too small to where you're having to drill many different holes, or you're just drilling one hole that's too small to fit all your rods. So the kit helps. The second thing was the drill bit extension. I picked this one up off of Amazon. It's not the best, but it got the job done. And I'll explain why it's not the best here in a minute. So this one's from Klein Tools. It has a 1/4 inch shank. I think I picked it up for like $30 or something like that on Amazon. But the reason I kind of struggled with it was it didn't really work out with the kit I had. I had to do one thing. So if you look at this, the kit has a hole saw adapter to where the drill bit fits inside this sleeve. The problem is the drill bit extension is made to hold the drill bit diameter, not diameter of this adapter. So the way around that was I had to find a hole saw adapter that actually clenches on to the outer diameter of the drill bit. So you can see there's a set screw there. This one is made by, sorry for the bad camera angle, I'm actually not even watching what I'm filming, but it's made by Greenlee. So you might be able to find that online, but being able to actually clench onto a drill bit allows you to use this drill bit extension. So the first step, I kind of actually laid it out here, is choose your hole saw diameter. As you can see here, this is the hole saw diameter I went with. It fits that cap to pretty much, this is the maximum size you can get away with. You can see how close I am to the sidewall of the boat. If you have a 363V and you're using a 2.5, just be very, very careful with your placement. Once I have that drill bit size chosen, you can see I removed the fiberglass rod locker cap. It's only about an 1/8 inch thick. So if you find yourself drilling for longer than what you would think would be 1/8 of a wall, then you might be drilling into your actual gunnel of your boat. So be careful there. as you can see, there's really not much room with a 2.5. If you're kind of, if you want to be conservative, you can do a 2-inch and then do something here I'll show you in a bit to actually extend that hole size. So, but I went with 2.5. I was confident with my placement, and I just felt like I was at low risk. So the second thing you want to do is you want to pick up PVC pipes from Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever you have a hardware store, and take a Dremel and then just cut teeth. You can see it doesn't have to be very technical. You can see how ugly these teeth are, but just cut teeth inside the actual PVC pipe. And then I use a 2-inch PVC, which is what I use to take the rough cut of the foam, and I have a 1 1/4. So what I did was, once I had there's kind of a step in between these two, but once I had this fiberglass cap removed, I had a wall of foam here. So what I did was I took a 2-inch PVC pipe. This is roughly 4 feet. And I took a rubber mallet. I stuck the PVC pipe in the hole and I tapped the end of it with a mallet up to as far as I could get. And you'll start to hit a wall to where the boat is curving. And then I think it's roughly maybe 6 to 8 inches up. And that's pretty much just to allow you to get the bulk of the foam out of the way. That was the only time I ever used a 2-inch. After that, you want to go with a 1 1/4. Well, I guess you don't have to, but the reason I chose a 1 1/4 is it fit my shop vac hose really nicely. As you can see here, I just shoved the hose on one end and I carved away the foam with the other end. And as it was removing foam, it was sucking it up into a shop vac. It streamlined the process. It made it nice and clean up front so you can see what you're doing. And just made it much cleaner. I really didn't have too much of a mess after doing this. There's like little bits of pieces of foam. And obviously the bigger pieces of foam they'll get caught in the end of the shop vac. But overall, this kept it to a clean process. You'll want to use a nice bright flashlight. I use a 1000 lumen flashlight. You don't have to go that high, but being able to see what you're doing up there is very important, especially for the first step with the hole saw. So just get a nice flashlight and really light up that work area. So if you're just going the hole saw route, you can fit about 8 rods in there. And I fit up to, essentially you can fit up to an 8-foot rod. When you fit 8 rods in there, it's kind of tight and you have to fish them in. So I didn't like that personally. I felt like I was at risk of breaking a rod. So what I did next was I kind of, I guess, jerry-rigged this in here, but I took a handsaw and I put it in between 2 teeth of the 1 1/4 PVC pipe. And then I taped it with electrical tape, and I went throughout this hole. I would tape around the diameter, come in this hole, go back to the diameter, and essentially just kept that hole saw from sliding out. The 2 teeth keeps it nice and tight. You don't have much wiggle play there. So once I had that handsaw attached, I chipped away at the upper left and the lower right corners. So as you can see in this picture, there's quite a bit of material here and here as well. I didn't really chip away at the top. There wasn't as much material up there. It was hard to get to because of the height of the rod locker. It's hard to work up high. But I just slowly sawed away at that wall until I got those 2 corners off. So essentially just those 2 triangular pieces. Once that was done, you can carve away at that foam as well. And you'll end up with a hole that looks like this. And after I did that, I was able to fit my 8 rods in there very easily. So if you only have 5 rods and you only plan on keeping 5 rods, you can stick with just the hole saw, and that'll cover you for the most part. They slide in and out pretty easily, but I wanted to have capability of going 8 rods and potentially maybe 1 or 2 more. So that was a big deal for me. I wanted to be able to open that up as much as I could. So another tip, it's actually really a must. You don't want to skip this, but when you have your rods in there, they need to have rod sleeves. If you don't have rod sleeves, you're going to nick your poles, nick your line. You don't want to lose a fish because you have a line that's got a nick in it from you sliding it in and out of your rod locker. So What I found was the best sleeve you could use is the mesh sleeves. I can see I have quite a few mesh sleeves. I have the neoprene ones as well here in the middle. The neoprene ones, they don't really run up there as nice because they start, they have like a friction force against the other rods essentially. So they don't slide up there. They kind of have some resistance. So I'll probably swap those two rods out that have the neoprene sleeves. But the mesh ones, even though they get caught in troubles easier, they go up that rod locker much easier. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Obviously, it's kind of labor intensive. It takes, I mean, the hole saw one is really fast. You can get that done in about an hour. But when you're cutting away at those small triangular pieces, it probably took me 4 hours. But it's kind of a tough 4 hours because you're in on your head, you're upside down on your knees on the deck, and you have your head essentially just trying to figure out what's going on in that rod locker. So I would advise maybe breaking it up in 1 or 2 days. That's what I did, and it made it bearable, but it's worth the effort, being able to have all this deck space, and you can protect your rods and not have them out exposed to the elements and exposed to you possibly stepping on them. So that's really it, though. It's a straightforward process, and once you start getting into it, it's really not that bad. It seems intimidating, but once you cut the hole with the hole saw, that's the biggest step. After that, it's just removing foam. So that's all I have for you, really. But yeah, this is the 363. I bought this last fall, so it's pretty clean condition. I just added the 2 Garmins on it, so I have 2 106s, one up front. I have one at the console. I redid all the plumbing on it. Gave a nice wax, and then these are being wired up this weekend, so making some upgrades on it. So if you need any other videos, just let me know. I might do them. I'm not really a YouTuber, but I just wanted to have something out here that helps people complete this task, because there's, like I said, there's nothing out there, or there's not much out there. There's a couple of forums, but even then, it's you're only basing it off of a few comments. So I think having a video might help. But yeah, just look for these tools online, and then it's straightforward. So thanks again, guys, and thanks for watching.